Hi, my name is Aruca Peixoto. I am a member for International Committee. With Gabriel, we are presenting the CG in Latin America. We start with Diana Arellano, that was for many years member for International Committee. Yeah, okay. So hello everybody. I am here I will tell you just briefly about why I'm here. So I have been part of this session for many years. I was part of the International Resources Committee for almost 6 years. And I'm originally from Peru. So I was born in Peru, then I grew up in Venezuela, and now I'm living in Germany. So it's very, very international, but that is, now that I'm in Germany, the reason why I'm doing and being part of these sessions is because it's a way to give back to the region and try to collaborate and to see how we can leverage Latin America to make it be bright and successful in terms of CG. So my contribution is as a ACM SIGGRAPH volunteer. So you're here, you're at the conference, and if it's not, you are the reason why this conference is so good. Behind the conference, there's a whole organization called ACM SIGGRAPH, and at the moment we are having our voting process. We are looking for volunteers. So everybody who is here working at the conference and behind the scenes, so at the organization, we are all volunteers. So there are many opportunities, there are many places where you can use your talents and also learn new skills and learn new things. So I would like to invite you to look for the opportunities at the ACM SIGGRAPH organization, at SIGGRAPH conference, and also to vote. Vote for the representatives that will make the decisions and that will make the conference to grow larger and better. And there are many initiatives this year. One of them is SIGGRAPH Cares. So just go to the website and take a look at that. So with that, I want to thank you for being here, enjoy the conference, and I will just invite the panelists to continue. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Slideshow.
Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. So my name is Yvette Bueno. I'm a lighting lead at Dreamers Animation Studios. I'm originally from Mexico. I would like to know also how many people from here are from Latin America. Everybody? So how many people from here are from the US? Okay, so I'll stick with English then. So my name is again Yvette Bueno. I'm from Mexico. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mexico and what's the actual situation. I have been working here for 5 years almost, or 4 years and a half, but I worked in Mexico for 7 years. Because I no longer work in Mexico, it was a little bit hard for me to know exactly what's going on there. So I went and made a small research in these last days and decided to go and contact a lot of people in social media. At the end, internet, we feel so free to talk to everybody on internet. So I thought, oh, that's a great place to get more insights about what's going on in our country. There's a group in social media. We know which social media. There's around 17,000 members in that group that are members for the animation industry, VFX, academics, business people, etc. So I went there and asked the first question. By the way, if you guys know how to put this in full size, please let me know. F5. F5. Oh, that wasn't the one. Here we go. Nope. That one. See? But I don't want to show these, so can you just do... Display settings and slide. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Sorry. All right, guys. Sorry, see, I'm a lighter. I'm just a lighting person. I don't do a lot of presentation. So I went to social media and asked the next question. What's the actual situation in Mexico? What's the broad, high-level state of the industry in Mexico currently? But I wanted to know exactly in which sections. So these were all other small questions that I did in my post, in my comments there. Are there many feature films right now in development? Are there economic support for those feature films to be developed? Are there new animation festivals? And what kind of opportunities can we find there? I don't know if anybody here is actually working in Mexico right now. Yes? Are you students or working? A little bit of everything, I guess, right? So, because it's internet, I got a lot of responses, right? People were like commenting and discussing and being really proactive, which I'm really thankful. So some of the things they said were like, yes, there are more studios developing more projects, creating new opportunities. I mean, compared to when I was working there, we had a lack of opportunities back then. And there were not so many projects back then. So I was really glad to see that there's new studios working on projects. They'd say that compared to a few years ago, they saw more job opportunities in there. They also saw there were more stop motion projects. I don't know if you like stop motion, but it looks like there's starting like a boom in Mexico right now. We also have heard that Guillermo del Toro is thinking about bringing some of the productions to Mexico, so that's really interesting. Again, we know that there's already economic supports like in Cine, Fonca, and PECTA, and new animation festivals like Pixelatl and Cutoff Fest, that if you haven't had the opportunity to go, I think I have heard really good reviews about them, to go and make connections with them, because at the end they're bringing studios and really high people from the industry, like around here or other countries. More Mexican studios are working in recognized international projects. I heard some people working for TV shows as well. And new international studios like Netflix are starting a new studio over there, so that's going to hopefully open new opportunities for us. We already know that here in the US, Netflix is doing a lot of movement, so it's like shaking the waters a little bit, so it will be interesting to know what's going on there. And there I also saw that people was saying that there's new financing opportunities like the ones provided by some banks. And the quality has increased. There were a few things that they mentioned we should improve. Economic support is there, but maybe it's not enough, so we need to try to get more of that. And I guess some of the other panelists who are in academic and in business will tell more about that. We also need to attract more local and foreigner investment. We're needing that. There's a disconnection between the employee and the employer. I think is something that sounds a lot. There's an unfair judgment to our own national products. Sometimes we compare them to international things and we tend to be a little bit cruel. And there's a lack of representation in the industry, of the industry in the Congress or our government. So we need to show them what we can do in Mexico so they can give us more support and hopefully better projects can be developed. That brought me to the next question that was really interesting. And now we have a microphone here. So the quality, this person said this really interesting situation here. The quality has increased to the point that more artists are getting hired abroad. And I'm going to bite my tongue because that happened to me, right? I was working in Mexico for 7 years, and then I got a job at Disney, and then I got a job at DreamWorks. However, I was thinking, yes, it pushed me to move out from Mexico because of the opportunities and the current situation when I was living there. So what do we need to keep the talent in-house? So I'm really glad again that we have some academic people and business so we can talk about that. The feedback was, well, we are looking for better salaries, we need more attractive IPs, better projects, bigger projects, growth for both the studio and the artist, better work regulations, increased social stability and safety, of course, and more studios in different parts of Mexico. It was interesting to see that the feedback was coming from the artist perspective. So I wonder, what kind of members do we have in this group? So I made the next poll. And it looks like, in that group specifically, we have a lot of artists. It was interesting to see that there were a few entrepreneurs, There were a lot of students as well, a lot of just graduating students. But if you see, there's no many, and actually there's no many entrepreneurs in that sample that I took. The other thing that I saw that was really good is that there were a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. So that actually is a little bit motivating that there are people interested in creating the business for Mexico. So that brings me to, we need to train and encourage artists to create businesses and attract investors. We have been already working so hard in Mexico to create a lot of talent. There's a lot of schools right now. There have been a boom of schools. Everybody is offering programs that are making these really talented people. I feel like Mexico has really good quality in their artists, but we don't have the opportunities yet. So I wonder, do we need to create now business people? Do we need to train them? So just to conclude, over 4 years ago, or in my experience while living in Mexico, it was a process of the creation of talent, right? We increased the animation, VFX, and video game school programs. When I started, I think we were like maybe 5 schools, and they had only like 3 years giving classes, probably. But now, we have a lot of talent, and I'm sure that the students that are here that are already working, I'm sure your talent is really getting there, is really good. So currently, we need to create more opportunities in studios. I think we're lacking right now of places to work. So where do we want to be? We want to be in a globally competitive in terms of diversity, quantity, and quality of projects and studios attractive to local and outside investors. I understand that part of our dream is actually to go out. It's actually normal to see that we should work abroad and we're all doing the same and we're all going out. But if we think as Latin America, if we think as Mexico or other countries that are living the similar situation, what can we do to create industry in there? Like, I know that, again, we want to go out and everything, but how can we help each other to create industry? That will be all. I'm going to pass the microphone to the next people. Thank you so much.
Hello there. My name is Jeffet Rodriguez. I'm an academic. I actually work at Universidad Panamericana in Guadalajara, Mexico. I'm a research assistant professor there, studying his PhD, and I'm also the director of the Bachelor of Science in Computer Graphics and Systems Engineering. So I had the pleasure to be on this talk 3 years ago at Anaheim. And one of the things that I mentioned was that we are getting there, and there are more programs, as Yvette was just saying, but there was not a lot of proprietary knowledge that we were actually doing. And there's a lot of animation and there's a lot of artists in Mexico, but we were leaving behind all the part of the technical side. All the creation of video games was mostly done for companies like Electronic Arts and all other studios that are well known. And just then, we had just created a special program that was a postgraduate program for 1 year. It's a specialty on visual effects, and we were wondering what was going to be the result of that. The interesting part is that today I can tell you that it works. But the thing is that we have a lot of small studios in Mexico that are working very quickly, as fast as they can, to generate as many new things and as many talent as possible. One of them is actually right there, Demente Studios. I've known Carlos for a while. What happens now is that you can see that there's a lot of people winning different contests. They are working ARIAs, they are working with Oscar winners, and you can see that slowly, but at a very good pace, we are getting there. When I finished the talk, a lot of people joined me and asked me, okay, but why are there no students from Mexico at SIGGRAPH? So today, if you look around, please raise your hand, all students from Universidad Panamericana. Okay, so that's the thing. We need to push our students, our people, to be in these kind of conferences. There's a lot of information that you can get here, a lot of people that you can meet. For example, guys, she works at DreamWorks, so you can talk with her if you want to get a job there. That's the kind of opportunities that happen. Yeah, 4 years ago, we actually met one of the people that was on ILM. Today, he's the main director of ILM X Lab. So that's how you eventually are able to get that. The best thing about SIGGRAPH is not the conference, is that you are so close to real talent that you can talk with them without any issue. If you see, for example, 4 years ago we met Kip Thorne. I don't know if that name sounds to you, but he's a Nobel Prize. He just won the Nobel Prize last year for physics. He was here to describe all his work for Interstellar, working with Nolan. Yeah, and he was just walking by on these halls 4 years ago, okay? So that's one of the first recommendations that I give all the students. The second part is that Mexico, yes, has a lot of talent, but we don't know where's that talent. If you start asking around, there are some people that are at big companies in the US, some of them are in Canada, some of them are Europe, but we don't have that connection, and that's usually what is required to be able to join these companies. You can easily ask around, and many of you maybe have heard of Jaime Jasso or Daniel Schmidt. They're very famous Mexicans because they both work at ILM, and they have around 20 to 30 different movies that they have worked on, including Avengers and including a lot more. So if you ask them, and they're actually right on this conference, they can help you with your portfolio. And that's one of the things that Mexicans were not doing right now. Many of them didn't know that, for example, Ipet or that Andres are very accessible. And you can ask them and they will help you. Because we want Latin Americans to succeed. And that's the thing that I would recommend the most. So for the final part, what I would like to say is we need to see more projects of students. If you were at yesterday at the animation festival, maybe you saw that Goblins had like 5, maybe 6 different presentations. I actually didn't saw anyone from Latin America there. So many of the times what happens is that our students believe that what they are creating is not enough. And that's a big issue because they create great quality. So my recommendation is, again, just test it. And as an example, we actually I teach one of the courses is multimedia and computer graphics. And we create a ray tracer from scratch. Using a programming language, they create this ray tracer along 2 months. And the images that they generate with this ray tracer were sent to the exhibition here. And they're right now, right there on the South Lobby. If you go downstairs, you can see Universidad Panamericana and all the projects of the students. And that's the kind of things that encourages them to start jumping into these projects. And as I've talked with a couple of my students and they saw the posters and they start asking me, so can I send a poster? Yes, please send a poster. But am I going to get the quality required? Just do it. They'll give you feedback and we'll correct that. And eventually we'll get there if it's not already there. That's my big recommendation, and I think that's what's currently working in Latin America. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andres Martinez. I am originally from Colombia. I came to the States in '96 to do a master's program. And I got accidentally involved with the Matrix trilogy. So I became the lead for the virtual cinematography department. So every time that Neo was inside the Matrix, all the environments were my responsibility, pretty much. And from there, I have been involved with Spider-Man and I Am Legend and a couple of other animated movies. And that was my world for a very long time. And I loved it. And then something started to pick my interest, and it was looking around and seeing how many Latin Americans were around in the workforce. And started to create a social media using Facebook, using one of the groups called IRCCG, CG Workshop, and just with the curiosity to see how many artists were in the region. Through that, I was able to meet, get to know a lot of people, and eventually work for a software company. I was the business developer for the Foundry, and through that, I made a lot of connections in governments and universities and different industries, met a lot of people, and I'm convinced that there's a lot of talent in the region, amazing talent, people that I would have loved to have sitting next to me in any of those blockbuster films, because they do have the capacity to do amazing work, perhaps even better than some of the final frames that we got to see on the films. But one of the things that I can see now is the necessity to learn how to work. I've been a board member, international board member for the Visual Effects Society, and I am currently the communications manager for the Visual Effects Society local chapter in Los Angeles. And through my work, putting the spotlight in Latin America, I see amazing artists, and I usually have the intention of putting a spotlight into an artist so that the industry can come in and work with these company. And then to what Yvette was saying, I put the spotlight in Yvette, for example. I'm like, this company in Mexico, they have amazing artists. Look at, where's Yvette? And all of a sudden she is at Disney, or she's an NPC, she's all over the world. And that is a very good thing, because companies are seeing the talent worldwide of what Latin Americans can do. And the difficulty with some of these top stars in being able to grow in our regions is because, not that we don't have the talent, we do not know how to work to be able to compete internationally. We have the knowledge of the software, we know how to button push any type of software, but understanding the very simplicity of, as I used to work with a lot of studios. I just sold my company, which worked from Guadalajara to Buenos Aires, from Peru to even Madrid. When I say a deadline is mañana, I don't mean mañana. It has to be at 5 p.m. Understanding naming conventions, understanding the direction that I was given in an email. Don't ask me about the same things that I already described once. These are the kind of things that in Latin America, we just don't know how to work in the global arena. So that is something that for sure we need to learn how to do that. And there's tons of software currently that make it easier, because the companies are seeing that the guys from India and Brazil and Colombia and Germany and London work differently. They do the same amount of work, the talent is there. We just have different idiosyncrasies, different ways of doing things. So this is something that's helping everybody, not only Latin America. And Latin America should jump to the opportunity of making sure that we have the ability to compete in the international arena. So, yeah, I think that to what you were saying in terms of like the capacity, the intellect, the talent, it's amazing. And as Latin Americans, with the amount of talking that we do, the social that we are in our countries, we should be able to band together to have more communication between ourselves, to help each other. SIGGRAPH is indeed one of the main platforms. My thesis project in 2001 made it to the Electronic Theater, and I won Alias Wavefront, and that allowed me to start creating a network that eventually flourished into different heads of studios, heads of departments within the studios. This is where you will, if the same analogy works, your childhood friends, the people from the barrio, the people that you met at SIGGRAPH 2000 or 2007 or 2012, these are the people that are going to be your peers, your collaborators throughout your professional career. So take advantage of every single person that you meet here. And yes, most of us do have that intention of helping out and pointing you in the right direction. And there's undeniably a connection just by the fact that we're Latin Americans. We'll try to help. You know, we don't have the hiring power, but it would be something that for sure would be more than happy to see one of you guys, one of us, be part of you know, the new era, the new platform. So thank you for listening.
And now we close with Professor Marcelo Zulfo from Brazil.
Surprise.
And next is you.
Hi, I'm Marcelo from São Paulo, trying to develop the computer graphics industry down there. Latin America has a heritage at SIGGRAPH. For example, me, I'm attending this conference for the last 27 years. And if we look around, there is a lot in terms of contributions. If you see our keynote this year, Victoria Alonso from Argentina, the executive vice president of Marvel, she came from Argentina. If you take a look at the SIGGRAPH symbol, shade pixel, he was conceived by a Latin American designer that came from my group, Mario. He has a Japanese name, but he's Brazilian. So I think you guys need to be part of this community, you know, and we have these great guys here that can introduce you guys to everyone. Don't be shy. The first time that I came to SIGGRAPH, despite I'm academics, I didn't speak English, you know. And that was not a problem. In less than 2 days, some of my long-term American friends, they introduced me to hundreds of people. So, and I'm still a friend of these guys. So the good point of SIGGRAPH is a welcoming community. And if you have a problem, just tell us, you know. We have the International Center here. You should apply. You should become volunteers like I did, Rukia, you guys. So I participate on a number of international conferences. And the difference at this conference, it's a community. Yes, it's big, so sometimes it's scary. We have the SIGGRAPH anxiety syndrome, because yes, it's impossible. Who came for the first time here? Raise the hand. Guys, it's impossible to see everything. Absolutely impossible. In the past 20, when I was younger, I tried to see everything, including the parties. It's impossible. So the recommendation is quality is better than quantity. But again, you have your advisors. They can, for example, the VR theater is something really cool. I think Latin America can do strong contributions in VR. Yeah. Also, doesn't be ashamed. Be courageous. Submit your work. Try the first time, the second time. I have already a number of contributions at SIGGRAPH, but I received the first no, and I said, okay, next time again. And it will happen a day, you know. Just to talk about me, I'm a researcher. I run a center at University of São Paulo. It's an interdisciplinary center on interactive technologies. We want to understand how humanity will interact with computers 50 years from now. So we're doing a lot in terms of archaeology. There is a fantastic space on virtual reality and computer graphics in archaeology in Latin America, from Mexico to Peru. We don't have civilizations in Brazil, so we do prehistorical archaeology there. And there are possibilities on data visualization. We do a bit on graphics and emerging technologies. So I think when we came here, we need to come back home and say, well, I will do better to my country to develop this field there. So you guys can open local chapters. How many people from Peru here? Nobody from Peru? Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Chile. Where are the local chapters? We need to have local chapters in Lima.
There's local chapters in Chile and
Yeah.
in Colombia.
Yeah, and we need more, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So be part of the community and participate in the community. That is the message. And if you are shy, if you have any problem with language, I do not speak Spanish, but I can communicate with you guys. I'm pretty sure that all these guys here will take you by hand to any place that you wish in this conference. For example, I'm not a cinema guy, but 5 years ago, I was having a coffee nearby here. And then one guy showed up, and he was a very fancy guy, and he was an animator. I said, okay, I'm a researcher. And then, what is his name? Oh, John. Okay, John Lasseter. Okay, I'm Marcelo Zuffo. I'm not a cinema guy, you know. I'm a researcher. So I spoke for 1 hour with John Lasseter. And then when my kids discovered that, they almost killed me. Or, for example, one guy that's more technical, Ed Catmull. Ed Catmull is an academic like us. Again, if you go to the keynotes on the paper sections, he's a guy, thin, with beard. He's always there, you know. And that is nice at SIGGRAPH. You start to engage conversations with these guys. They doesn't care about where you are, from where you come, and they start to talk to you. And then suddenly you are talking with these VIPs. And what I learned in this year, these guys are super generous. So if you ask a help, they will definitely not say no to you guys. So that's it. Thank you, Arukia. It was a surprise to me, and I hope to help.
Ready for the questions?
We're not done with this. Sorry.
Diana is the first presenter. Diana was the chair for international resource. Now she's the chair for the international relations from SIGGRAPH. I am member for international resource. I am member for the diversity and inclusion committee. You have a diversity and inclusion committee. This is a great thing. And I am member for the SIGGRAPH Cares. I am member from the jury from the posters, the beautiful posters that we have here, and also member from student research competition. I am Brazilian. And for the student research competition, I was Cecilia Toro, that's also a Latin American. We have many Latin Americans here. And the good thing is when we start to meet someone, they start to introduce you to many other people. I want to know who here is a student. Who applied for the student volunteer? Who is a student volunteer here from SIGGRAPH?
I was a student volunteer.
You was?
I was. I actually, really fast, if you allow me, like my first SIGGRAPH, I was a student volunteer, and it was my first SIGGRAPH. And 4 months later, and I don't want to sound like anything, but it's my experience, and I hope it helps you guys. 4 months later, I got a job offer by Disney by being a student volunteer, because they had sessions for student volunteers to review the reels, and that gave me so many opportunities. So if you can still apply, to be honest, it's a really good opportunity to not let it pass.
Yes, this I want to talk to you, because you have SIGGRAPH next year. For everyone that is a student, I think that just graduate now, yes, they can apply for next year. Then do this, because she told clearly there's a great opportunity for student volunteer. And now I want to open for questions.
Questions.
You know the word question? Cuestiones, preguntas.
Preguntas.
Sí.
I have a question.
Someone is looking for a job here? Did you go to the job fair?
Of course.
Yes, great. So there is the job fair. Anyone had a startup here, a company? There is the SIGGRAPH Garage. You should go there. This year, one of our colleagues from Stanford, Professor Pat Hanharan, have you heard about that? He won $1 billion. He became a billionaire. No, related to SIGGRAPH, he is designing visualization software, and that was purchased by Adobe, and Adobe paid him $1 billion. And he probably is around. So there are investors, there are companies looking for talent people, there are startups, but you guys need to communicate. The problem of Latin Americans, like me and others, we are shy, you know. So we need to engage and communicate and talk. There are some people from Venezuela here. You know, Venezuela was the biggest community a few years ago. We need to help these people. And the Venezuelans are great because they communicate very well. When I was in the beginning of my career, I was being helped by many Venezuelans integrating me to the conference. So don't be shy, talk to others, and do questions.
Yeah, now we got questions.
Okay, now we have questions.
All right. I have one question. Can everyone hear me well?
Yeah.
I see VFX houses opening up all around the world. They open up in China and Singapore and Mumbai. Why aren't we attracting these companies down to Latin America? What's the things that are stopping us?
Well, that is interesting. Something that is going on in Brazil. The guys are opening the VFX houses, and they open a liaison here, and they outsource services. So particularly in Sao Paulo, we have 9 nice beaches nearby. So the guys, they build the design houses in the coast, not in Sao Paulo, that's a big city. And they travel every month to US. We have a currency devaluation, so labor is cheaper in Latin America, but they charge much more than they charge locally. So one business model that is quite attractive, and some of these VFX houses they have in Brazil, something like 100 guys, is outsourcing services to LA, San Francisco, Vancouver, and Toronto. So I heard guys doing that, no?
Okay, I want to tackle that.
Yeah.
It is something that gets me very, very close to home. As a CG supervisor at Sony or Digital Domain or even Method, I had to work with a lot of Indian or Chinese companies. And every time that I had a 1 a.m. meeting so that we can be at their local time, the question about why are we not talking with Colombia or Mexico or Brazil, it would be much simpler. We're in the same time zone. We have the closer cultural sensitivities. We have, from my experience on very specific projects, way more opportunity of hitting the mark, the creative mark, than what, again, very specific to my experiences on these projects, than the Asian teams. So why aren't these big companies having these studios? And unfortunately, it's lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, and one of the things that has happened is there are some Latin Americans that have been able to have success in the industry here in North America. They go back, they say that they're directors from Hollywood, and instead of technical directors, right? They go and say that they're directors from Hollywood, and they open shop, thinking that they're going to be able to rack a lot of money into it, and they have failed, missed experiences. So now you have lack of trust, so in addition to lack of knowledge. With my work with the Visual Effects Society, as a member of many different committees, what I have been trying to do is trying to educate, trying to make sure that when I go and talk to universities in Latin America, I say, let's have in the same table Chamber of Commerce, universities, let's have local governments, let's have students, let's have everybody, let's talk. Let's cut this kind of like egos and professional jealousy. We have to be in the same table and share knowledge, share experiences, and work together. I know that currently there's a lot of companies that are locally getting together because of the excitement and at the same time the threat of the Netflix, the Amazons that are coming to Latin America, and they realize we don't know how to work. We don't know how to work together. We are not going to be able to have, when Christopher Nolan, does his next film, to be able to do 1,200 shots. I was asked by the VFX supervisor for Christopher Nolan, Mike Chambers, who is now the chair of the Visual Effects Society. He said, Andres, I'd love to work with you. Would it be possible next time that we do, let's say, a next Batman, would it be able to send you 1,200 shots? I'm like, no, Mike, we're not ready for that. Let's do 200 shots. I'm like, no, I'm going to call the Scanline. I'm going to call the big companies. Those are going to be my 5 phone calls in the morning. So it's the lack of knowledge, and at the same time, what I was saying earlier, we need to learn how to work, how the international community works. Shotgun, Python, the very simple professionalism of knowing the pipeline, because you know what to expect from someone that comes downstream, and how to deliver something to the other person, and deliver something beyond, because you know what the compositors are going to need. So you give them a proper mat and say, hey, by the way, I'm giving you this because you might need it. So that's understanding. We are, in most cases, from, again, my experience, a lot of button pushers with the excitement of, I know that I have the latest cracked version of this software, and I can do this, but I don't know what comes here. I don't know what goes there. I just know how to do this one. And so we need to have a bigger conversation about the entire pipeline. And just one more second. Not only the software, but go back to the analog, the basic knowledge of photography, the basic knowledge of communication and color and composition. Those are draw, take pictures, even if it's on your phone, but be artistic.
Actually, I would like to say something. Maybe I wasn't too clear in my presentation, but I wanted to talk about that mainly. I think it's one of the main problems why some of us were kind of flying the country, if you want to say it like that. Mainly because, in my experience, I love Mexico. I always imagined myself in Mexico, being proud of what we were doing, growing together, etc. And then life happens, and new opportunities come, and they become global, and now you have all these Mexicans working everywhere. I think there are different situations that we need to take into consideration. One is, as artists, of course, we want all these big companies coming to Mexico, right? We're like, yes, why don't Pixar, DreamWorks, Disney comes and hire us? If you think as a business person, it will be scarier, because let's say you have a small studio and you want to grow. You wouldn't be able to compete against these big companies, right? So that's one thing. It depends the perspective. You're an artist or you're a business person. The other thing that I noticed a lot in my conversations and replies from social media was that we have created a lot of really talented artists. If you think about it, how many of your contacts, Mexican contacts, are working in DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar, ILM, MPC, Sony, Animalogic? I feel like by now all my friends are no longer in Mexico. It's really sad to hear, but it's really cool for everybody because we're all learning. The thing is that we're not coming back, right? The other thing, and I talk in front of you guys because you're in academics, we worked so hard in the last 10, 15, 20 years to create artists. I feel like there's a lot of schools, there's a lot of online programs, there's a lot of, every university now has at least a program for animation. Where are the programs for business in animation? I think now we're lacking of that. I think we need to convince the schools to not only the schools, the academic people, the business, and the artists. We need to come together in an assembly, in a meeting, in a group, in a breakfast if you want, and talk, what does Mexico need? I feel like now we have this amazing talent, but we don't have the studios. We don't have enough work to give them, right? So we need now to maybe incorporate in the education programs, business programs. Because at the end, you as an artist, you know what you need. I want a studio to give me these benefits, but also the studios, they know what they need to be able to compete internationally, be able to do the 200 shots per month, right? Or week or whatever they're asking. We don't have the infrastructure and we don't have the education. I think maybe the next step for the Latin American countries is now to teach those artists or business people to be attracted to invest in animation. There are other issues that come with that, like convince the government to give more support and maybe have the presentation in the Congress, convince them to give us financing and other things. But I think really important right now is that whoever is right now in Mexico and mainly in schools is to talk to business people and say, hey, okay, an artist, like maybe now what we need is to create new businesses, new business people, because the pool is there. We have so many amazing artists right now.
I've got a question for Jafet.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting because exactly what you were talking about just now. So I wanna hear from the academic side of things. We started in Mexico a long time ago, before there was any sort of programs in the universities. So I wanna hear from I'm just interested to hear like from the academic side of things, like what's the actual focus on what you guys are teaching? Is it to actually educate the students to keep that local talent in Mexico or Latin America? Or is it prepare them enough so they can actually do Mexico and go and work in some of the studios?
Okay, yeah, well, specifically on the university that I'm in, animation is an engineering program. It's not an art program. So that means that our students are a bridge between artists and developers to be able to become technical directors. And what we want them to learn is that they can create their own business, but also that they can join studios all around the world. Answering part of the last question is that usually studios in Mexico, many of them, how they work is that they have people hired by the project. And when they finish the project, they lay them out. So an artist doesn't want to eat 1 month yes and 1 month no. We want to have a stable job. And that's actually one of the biggest issues in Mexico. If you don't have a stable job, what are you going to do? You're going to look for a job that's actually stable. So you go to the big companies, Disney and all around. Right now, what we are trying to do is start changing our programs to have a little bit more of business so they can create their own studios. And for the last couple of years, there's been an actual change on the government because usually funds were always to the same 5 companies. And those companies were actually not creating much. And now we're pushing a lot more to have many more small and big studios to get that money, to get that funding. But as Andres was saying, we need to learn a lot more. Because another issue that we have in Mexico is that production is very expensive because we have to redo a lot of the work because we don't do it correctly at the first time. And that's expensive, and that doesn't make sense because, yes, we can be cheaper because Mexico is, usually there's a conversion that we say 3 times what you pay in Mexico is what you're going to pay on the US. So you can have 3 Mexicans working on a project instead of 1 American working on that project. But because of their redoing the shots, that's almost not there. It's 1-to-1. So that's the other part of the issue. So yes, we want as an academics to have our students be on Mexico and create studios and be very successful and have a lot more productions. And actually, we prefer them to have their own PI, not create the next Spider-Man movie. Yeah, you can learn from that, but we have a lot of things that we can create with our own PI, and that's where actually studios make a huge boom, and now you have a very successful industry. So,
Hi, my name is Servando. I'm almost representing the Mexican games industry.
yeah.
And well, I have like this critical question of why do you all think that the companies and the schools really don't care about the industry? Because if they care, they would be here. Like in this, not only in this room, but in the whole event. Like we're only like HCG, the Panamericana, and us, like Chimera and Sunset. But I mean, all those companies go to GDC or the Footrest or E3. So, but they're not in these technical, like really super specific events. Why do you think that's happening? I mean, there's a lot of programs, as you said. There's a lot of new studios, but they're not coming to the places where it matters.
I think, sorry. I think this is, because I live it these days. I had a few, I put on, again, social media, Facebook. I put a message that say, hey, it's a little bit too late just in case, but I say, hey, whoever is coming to SIGGRAPH, let me know if you would like to meet DreamWorks. Because there was going to be a mixer, and people from DreamWorks told me, hey, if you know people interested, send it my way. And again, as they have mentioned, we are really open to help our Latin people. So I say, hey, whoever is coming to SIGGRAPH, I'll send you guys their way. First of all, I noticed, interestingly enough, even being so close to the US, people was like, what's SIGGRAPH? Like, why are they asking what's SIGGRAPH? Other people was saying, well, you know, are they going to give me a job right away? I'm like, no, I mean, you need to make connections. You need to come. You'll get much more than just meeting one company, right? I feel like maybe we need, again, as Rukia and Diana were saying, more volunteers to create the chapters and educate people about SIGGRAPH in the different states. One of the feedbacks I got was that people wanted to see more studios in other parts of Mexico, not just Guadalajara and Mexico City. I think it's the same for the chapters. It would be great to see more of these chapters everywhere in Mexico. I mean, again, I know because I lived it, not everybody has the economic possibilities to travel, and even inside Mexico. So if we can provide them more education about this type of events in different states, maybe that would be great. Again, you're here, so if you talk to them and become a volunteer, maybe you can be also an advocate for SIGGRAPH over there and say, hey, you know, I went to SIGGRAPH and it was pretty cool and I got these from there. And I have been saying that to my friends, you know, like I got 2 jobs from SIGGRAPH. Well, I have been coming to SIGGRAPH since then, almost every year or every 2 years, and I still get a lot of it. So I guess it's more like, is education at the end what resolves everything?
Yeah, that's the right answer, the chapters. One of the best chapters in Latin America is the Bogota chapter by Hernando Bajamon. And he actually creates this annual conference, which involves artists, video games, and a little bit of research. It's really great. In Mexico, there's only been one chapter that has actually survived for a long amount of years. And that's the chapter on Guadalajara. Actually, in front of you is the first president of that chapter, Enrique Rosales. The third president is right here.
So you can talk to him right now.
Yeah, the thing is, we need more people to volunteer. That's the thing. And then we can talk and we can see what happens here. But we don't have enough time. We need more hands to be able to reach everyone and to let them know what is happening right here. And one of the dreams of Hernando is actually to have a SIGGRAPH in Latin America. Like there's SIGGRAPH Asia and SIGGRAPH Latin America. And, well, not officially yet. It's not exactly like SIGGRAPH Asia.
It's
SIGGRAPH
a
Asia
chapter, the Bogota
we
chapter?
have the chapter, but we want to have our own SIGGRAPH.
Yes, no, now we have a chapter, and I invite you to see the SIGGRAPH chapters Bogota page and see how good they are.
Yes, it's incredibly good, and that's what we are aiming for, having a SIGGRAPH in Spanish, because one of the issues that we have in Mexico is that a lot of the people are very talented, but they cannot speak English. So we need to fix that as quickly as possible. So yes, please, at the end of the meeting, at the end of this session, we can talk. Actually, 2 of the members of the chapter in Guadalajara right here, Ana Pau and Christian. And what happens is that you bring them here to SIGGRAPH, and they come back. This is the second SIGGRAPH for Anapao. Another of my students is not right here, Alfredo. I think that's what's happening. If you bring them along, they will want to come back.
Actually, I would like to ask, sorry, really fast, to you guys that work in the chapter and everything. I know that when I was working there, I got invited and I said yes and everything, but things happen and at the end it didn't happen, right? But I know that there are some festivals, animation festivals right now. They're like getting, exactly, that's the one, like Pixelatl. Do you guys think that SIGGRAPH can do something with them? I mean, September is coming and they're going to be there. If SIGGRAPH can have the chapter Guadalajara can have a booth or something so more people learn about SIGGRAPH?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, maybe that can be a...
Yeah, there is something. The chair from chapters is from Latin America for Colombia, is Jackie. Diana is the chair for international relationships, right, Diana? And Diana, Diana is from Peru, Jack from Colombia. We have other people from Latin America that I'm completely sure that want to be part of the growth of computer graphics in our field or in our region. Then they need to go to talk with the people that involved SIGGRAPH and to ask for support.
Yeah. I was a keynote speaker for the first Bogota chapter in Bogota in 2010, and had the opportunity to be the keynote speaker in Chile in 2014, 15, or 16, I can't remember. What it's nice is that everybody in this industry, you know English. You read it, you write it. You might not necessarily think that you're good at speaking it, but it doesn't really matter when you have speakers from other countries, which coincidentally everybody is from everywhere, so they have thick accents, and we still understand each other because we talk the same language. We talk about art and computers. I think that the reason why most people do not come to SIGGRAPH is, to my point about going back to the basics. If you go to the GDC, you go to E3, you go to these shows, you see the final product, you see the shiny object. In here, you have the most important part, is the network. And that's what people are not seeing. You come here, you make friends, you learn, you understand the very basics of what builds everything else in the industry. So that's a message that I think everybody should have to understand.
You have to finish. I just want to talk to students that the deadline for SIGGRAPH students volunteer, I think that's close into January. Close to January. Then don't wait too close to SIGGRAPH. Like close to January, you have to see what's the deadline, what they want. And you see many students volunteers, like also from Latin America. We need to be part of this. We are part of computer graphics. We need to be part also from SIGGRAPH. That's our home. I feel SIGGRAPH as my home. I think that you feel this too. Student volunteer. And same for Diana. Then thank you so much. Thank you for our meeting, SIGGRAPH in Latin America, and thank you for our presenters.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to remember that's organized with Gabriel, also from Venezuela, and member of the International Results Committee. Thank you.